Hello folks, Redneck Reloader here. Thanks for joining me. Sorry I haven't been around much of late. My work schedule, life schedule's made it. It's been very difficult to get out here and make videos. But things are getting a little better now. You're going to see some more reloading stuff coming. I've got some more bullets on order. I'm going to be doing some more bullet reviews. And I'm going to be doing some videos on bullet casting, as well as powder coating. And I've also, right over there on the shelf, got a box of high-tech powder coat that I haven't really had a chance to, not even powder coat, just high-tech coating, and I haven't had a chance to fool with it yet. And I'm going to be doing that, and once I figure out what I'm doing, and heck, even before, I'll make some videos, show you my troubles, what I run into, and what I figure out with that. So I will have some more coming. This is not a reloading video. This is a video about my RP45, Remington RP45. And so if that doesn't interest you, I'm sorry, move on. There'll be more reloading videos coming. But I have a love-hate relationship with this gun. It's my favorite gun to shoot. I love this gun. But when I first got it, I had a lot of problems with it jamming, not feeding reliably. And I got all that worked out through reloading. If you've seen some of my other videos, I'm assuming if you're watching this one, you've watched those. I kind of figured out what bullets work with it and stuff. But this is about magazines. Of course, Remington's out of business, and you can't get parts for them. And I only had 2 magazines, and that's a concern to me. I wanted to get some more, but you cannot find them anywhere. So on one of my videos, one of my viewers had commented and said that he'd found this other magazine that is the exact same thing and will work with the RP45. So I took a chance and ordered one, and that's what this video is about. I'm going to show it to you. It's not exactly the same, but it's a pretty good magazine, and I'm going to show you my findings. I've had one for several months now. I've shot a lot of rounds through it and played around, figured out what works and what doesn't. So I just wanted to share that knowledge with you. So I'm going to bring you over to the bench and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is one of my magazines that came with my RP45. I have 2 of them. And it's a 15 round magazine, although I'll talk more about that, for 45 ACP. And it's made by Remington. And if you have an RP45, you probably got the same magazine. As I said, you can't get these anymore. I can't find them anywhere. If you can, tell me. They did make a 10-round version for those horrible places where you're not allowed to have bigger magazines, and like Canada. And apparently Remington Canada is still in business. So when I went online, I have seen some of the 10-round magazines sold in Canada for sale, and they have like a crimp right around the bottom here, it looks like, to limit the follower coming down further, I guess. I've even been desperate enough, I've thought about buying a couple of those, but I don't know if any of them will ship to the States or not. I haven't. I assume they will, because it's not a firearm, but I haven't looked into it that depth. So I was told that this magazine is the exact same magazine. This is made by Magdar, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's made in Italy. It's made for a Para Ordnance P14, and it's 45 ACP, 14 rounds. So yeah, I went ahead and bought one. I've had it for a few months, put quite a few rounds through it, and that's what this video is about this magazine. I will say right up front, it's not the same magazine. It's not like Magdar was making these for Remington. They're very similar, but they're not exactly the same. So I'll kind of go over, I'll show you them side by side and show you some of the differences. You know, it's a different base plate, and the stamping does look remarkably the same, but as you can see, the holes for telling you how loaded it is. I don't know, what do they call those things, like witness holes? They're different. There are different locations and different amount of them. Obviously, this is a 15, this is a 14. They're very, very similar, but when you look at them side by side, you can see the differences. You can see the feed lips are different. From the back, they look pretty similar, but if you look at the shape of the feed lips, you can see there is a difference. And from the side, it's much more noticeable. They are bent slightly different. You can see that this in the front, this has a deeper cutaway than this one does. I guess it's hard to tell. Let me put a round in it so they look more like So you can see that that cut is a little different on the front. This one has a deeper notch cut out of it than the Para Ordnance Mag. They both have that kind of diamond stamping in here, but you can see this one's much wider, and this rear stamp is different shape, and the Remington has this crease all the way down it where this one does not. And you can see the number there, P14-45 Magdar. The front's very similar. The hole for the to retain the magazine, there's 2 of them on this one. There's only 1 on this one. And other than that, they're very similar, and they're basically the same size. When you set them side by side, the Remington looks a little taller, but if you look at the base plate, that's where that comes from. The metal stamping, as far as I can tell, is the exact same size. Which brings me to the rounds, where this is a 15 round magazine and this is a 14 round magazine. So if any of you have one of these, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. You can get 15 rounds in this, but it is a thumb breaker, and that last round is really tough to cram in there, and I don't do it. If you look at that empty hole, I usually load mine to 14 for a couple of reasons. One, it's just a lot easier to load, and 2, I just feel like shoving that 15th in there, you're just really cramming that spring down. I don't think this magazine was really intended to be a 15 round. Like I said, this one is a 14 round. I think that they just lowered that base plate a little bit so they could cram that spring in there, and said, okay, great, we have a 15 round magazine. But I still don't think it's good for it. So I just use it in 14. And I'll be quite honest with you, I don't see myself in a situation where 14 rounds of 45 ACP is not going to get me out of it. So I'm fine with that. And you can see the angle of the bullets are very similar. So they are very close magazines. So let's look at the gun and see how they fit in the gun. So the standard magazine, it goes in very easily, and you know, it fits nice on the bottom. It releases easily when you push the button, drops free, no problems whatsoever. It's very smooth. The Magdar, very similar. It goes in easy, locks good, and you can kind of see the, you know, the base plate fits a little different. It's a little wider, and it doesn't quite match the curve, but it's not a problem. It doesn't bother you with your grip. One thing I noticed about this magazine, it drops free cleanly, but you have to push in the release button harder. You got to push in a little bit further for it to release. And then once it does, it drops free easily. But it is a little harder to release this. And when it's full and the weight of all the rounds are in there, it just drops out real easy. But when it's not, you have to push that button kind of hard to get it to release. So that is a downside to this magazine. I'm thinking maybe it's this hole is not quite in the same spot. Maybe it's like 1,000th more or something, so it fits in there tighter. I've thought about taking a file and just filing a little bit of that off and seeing if that makes a difference. I just haven't done that yet. But it's not a big deal, but it is a little bit harder to release a magazine. I'm not, you know, I'm not in Beirut with this thing. I'm not out in combat all the time with it and stuff. I take this up in the mountains with me and stuff. It's not a big deal, but if you were using this for self-defense, I probably wouldn't want to use this magazine just because of a reload situation. It is a little harder. The factory mags, it doesn't take much force to hit it and drop them. This one, it does take more force. So that is that's just something to be aware of. If in the future I figure out what's causing it and I fix it, I will do another video about it. So as far as functioning in the gun, it's very good. The rounds feed nice, and I don't have malfunctions out of it now. I did have some problems at the beginning, but I'm going to go into that a little bit more in depth. But I went up today, shot it a little bit, didn't have one single problem. I've got a dummy round in here. It's no primer in it, and I'll show you, it just feeds nicely, ejects nice. All around it's real good, no problem. But the only real downside to that magazine is it is a little bit harder to release. So I've also found the type of ammunition that you use in it is important, and let me demonstrate that for you. Let me break this down, get my barrel and show you what I'm talking about. The only ammo that I will use in this magazine now is ball ammo, and specifically what I shoot is 230 grain round ball now. Some of the other ones might work too. And I know if you've watched any of my videos in the past, you're probably saying, hey, wait a minute, you don't shoot 230 grain round ball out of your gun. And that's true, I usually don't. And because I had such a hard time getting it to feed properly. When I first bought my gun, I had a devil of a time getting ball ammo to feed. So, and I've made videos about this. So what I usually shoot is this kind of stuff. This is a 200 grain flat nose bullet. These are ones that I casted and are ALOX coated, and these are ones I purchased. So that's what I usually run in my gun. And I've got some of my dummy rounds out here, and I'll show you. Now that's actually a 225 grain truncated cone from Acme, and these are both lead bullets. The one on the right, this one, is one that I cast, and this one is one I purchased from Outlaw Bullets. So you can see they're both 200 grainers, a little bit different shape, and I have to load mine a little bit shorter in order to feed in my gun properly. But this is what I usually run in my gun, because I found that ball ammo just does not work well in mine. But these do not work well in this magazine. What happens is, for some reason, they just want to hang on the feed ramp. So when I first got this magazine, the first few rounds I went out and shot with it, and I was like, boy, that was a waste of money, because I couldn't hardly get one through a magazine without jams. And as you can see, these rounds pass the plunk test easily. They drop right in. They spin freely. You can actually see they even kind of wiggle in there a little bit, and they drop out real free. I can run these in my gun all day long with no problem. But I found with this magazine, usually without even shooting, when I just try to rack the first round in, when you have this in the gun, it looks like the bullet hits pretty well on the feed ramp up here, but it must nosedive in a little bit, because I will go to put it in there, and I will get this. And it will hit the end of that feed ramp and hard, and it will actually leave a mark in the end of the bullet where it cuts into the edge of that and just jams up like that, and will just sit there. And I'll have to drop the magazine and cycle it back through, and you can keep trying, and every once in a while one will go in, but they jam. I was going to demonstrate that here on this video, and I've got some ammo right here, and I cannot get it to do it here on the bench. Where every time I cycle, it just cycles right in. But I'm telling you, if I go up and shoot them, they're going to hang like that. It happens. So I said, well, the only answer to that is going to be to shoot round ball. And that way, if it nosedives and hits, it's going to ride up anyways. And it's not going to catch and hang like that. So I kind of went back to the drawing board on my round ball with 45 ACP. Now this is Acme bullet, and I've never been able to get these things to feed reliably in this gun, and I've tried and tried. You can see if I plunk it in there, and just give it a little love tap to make sure it's in there good, and it's stuck. I cannot spin it, and it doesn't want to drop out. So that was the problem that I had with round ball. And I just kept going shorter and shorter, trying different crimps. I've used a factory crimp die on them, and same thing. If I load up round ball in this gun, they're going to jam. And when what happens is it just doesn't go all the way into battery. I'll think it went all the way battery, but it's like a thousandth or a couple thousandths out. I get a dead trigger, and then I have to smack the back of the slide to seat that all the way in there. And then just like I had to give it a little love tap here to get it all the way in. And that's the jam that you get over and over and over again. So I kind of went back to the drawing board and I said, look, I'm going to have to use round ball with this magazine if I want it to work. So this is a different bullet. This is, but it doesn't matter. I found it with those two. This is a brass monkey bullet. I've also got some T&B 230 gram round ball I've loaded, and I've got these to where they feed very reliably. I've not had a single jam, and you can see they pass the plunk test. Even if I tap them in, it's loose, spins easily, drops out. These and this Magdar magazine run great. What's the difference between these two is these are really short. I've had to load them considerably shorter. I don't know if you can really tell on the camera, but this is a little short round. It's really jammed down in there in the case. And so what I had to do was I started loading these, and I started at the very minimums, powders, and worked my way up and found a good load that works good with them being this short, and they work great. So now factory ammo, I can't not swear it's going to feed well out of this magazine, but I couldn't swear that factory ammo is going to feed well in your Remington RP45, because I never have been able to get factory ammo to run well, except for these. That's that Remington self-defense round, and they also make a practice round, the Syntec self-defense rounds. These run really good, but like I said, they're more of a flat point. They're not a round ball. So take that for what it's worth. So is the magazine good? I like it. I've got another one on order. And so what I have found is I use it when I'm practice shooting, and I'm kind of saving my actual Remington mags for, when I do carry this gun for self-defense, which is not very often. But for practice, those Magdar magazines are working great for me. So I'm going to, just a little demonstration, I'm going to load a couple of my flat point dummy rounds in there, and I'll see if I can get it to malfunction. I'm sure it won't, because I've got the camera turned on. But and these are all dummy rounds, no primers. So calm down, YouTube. And then I'm going to show you that round ball. So I'm going to try to do this on camera here. Just going to cycle it. You can see it goes right into battery, no problem. And of course the ones that I said won't work, they're going right into battery with no problem either. But I did not have that kind of luck when I'm out shooting those. They definitely jammed up on the ramp a lot. So as long as you're using round ball and you're loading it yourself and loading it short enough, I think you'll have great success with one of these Magdar magazines. And that's all I got for this one. I probably made this video way too long, but just wanted to share with you all, in case I know from my other videos I've got some good positive feedback. So I know there's some other people out there with the RP45s that love them as much as I do and have had some of the same problems that I have. So I just wanted to share that solution with you all. So thanks for joining me again. God bless all of you. This is Redneck Reloader, and I'll see you again soon.